welcome to the conference. And as I say, what we're going to talk about today is, are hybrid products the future of meat? And just before we get into that, let's have a think about why we're really here at all. What we have is, as we all know, we have the 10 billion by 2050 challenge. In other words, there's going to be 10 billion people on the planet by 2050, an increase of over 25% from the 7.9 odd billion people that we have today. So how do we equitably and sustainably feed these 10 billion people? Because the thing is, the current food system is no longer fit for purpose. We simply cannot feed everybody in the world now, let alone 10 billion people, the same way that all of us on this conference today are going to eat. There's just not enough land and water on the planet to do that. Just think about that. Not enough land or fresh water on the planet to feed everybody the way that we're going to eat now. But the empire of the conventional animal agriculture industry, worth $1 to $1.5 trillion at the moment, has set its sights on expansion. And that industry feels and wants to scale to be able to meet the growing protein demand, which is going to come with this increased population and increasing middle class around the world. And fortunately, though, we have some rebel alternative technologies that have arisen to challenge the empire and feed the planet in a more sustainable and equitable way. And in a galaxy not maybe so far away from all of us, what are these rebel technologies? Well, one of them is alternative proteins. And of course, plant-based is the most advanced of these technologies, been around for a while now. It seems like a long time, but I can remember going to the GFI conference in 2018 and getting complaints from some of the plant-based companies there that nobody took them seriously. And that's only 3 years ago. Now everybody is in the space. Impossible, Beyond, Nestle, Unilever, Tyson, JBS, Purdue, etc., etc., etc. Everyone wants a slice of the plant-based action, and plant-based has gone from being thought of as a fad, it is now mainstream. There is no doubt that plant-based is here to stay. How far will it go? Will it be 10%, 20%, 30, 50, 100% of the meat industry? No one really knows. As Giza pointed out, looking at the futures, no one can tell you the future. There's lots of alternatives, but one of them could be that plant-based dominates. Then, of course, we have cell-based, a much newer technology and really very, very high-tech technology. Requires a lot of technical skills and knowledge in the cell-based industry. And we've obviously seen good advances in the last 12 months. Back in December, we saw good meat from Eat Just being sold in Singapore, where it was approved by the Singapore Food Authority for sale, the first place in the world where sold commercially. And they've just announced that they're going to set up a factory in Qatar. And I find that really interesting because particularly in Australia, we have a lot of pushback from conventional animal agriculture, saying that we can't use words like sausage and burger and steak, etc., etc. But one of the things I tell the industry here, which is a huge contributor to Australia's GDP, is if we don't do it, somebody else will. And technology and money are globally transportable. And if someone like Qatar wants to put down enough money, they can become the global leader in making beef mince in the world. Then where does that leave the Australian industry? It leaves them out in the cold. But let's not forget that this is not going to be overnight success. there's going to be a large investment and a long time to build capacity to replace even a fraction of 10–20% of the conventional meat industry. We're talking hundreds of billions of dollars and 2 years just to find the land, design and build a factory, particularly in cell-based, or extra processing capacity to produce more plant-based products. So what are hybrid products though? Well, I try and keep a very simple definition. I just say it's products containing 2 or more distinct sources of protein. And those sources, for instance, can be plant-based, cell-based, algae, conventional animal, mycoprotein, etc., etc. There are more and more sources of protein coming out all the time. So that's a very simple definition. And to add, though, one extra one, which actually Geese has already mentioned, which I find absolutely fascinating, is the new hybrid in town. The new man in town is plant molecular farming. We're actually growing animals in plants. And I'm going to leave you with that because I don't want to steal Gaston's thunder, but I can tell you a technology that will change the future of a lot of industries is going to be plant molecular farming. So do not miss Gaston's talk, that's for sure. It's a fascinating technology. And some people do think that resistance is futile, that hybrids are going to take over the world. But why would consumers need hybrids? I think there are some good reasons that hybrids could address. We certainly see the increasing flexitarians and reducitarians, people either avoiding meat or reducing their meat intake. So hybrid products could offer them some options there, particularly reduce their conventional animal meat. Environmental benefits, people will be coming to realize just the contribution to greenhouse gas emissions and resource usage that our current food system produces and effects it has on the globe. People's health and nutrition, I think it's generally agreed that having plenty of plant-based foods in your diet is a good thing. So certainly health and nutrition benefits there. I mean, we have an epidemic of lifestyle diseases in the world based on the food that we eat. And we see that in developing countries as well. As they become more westernized in their diet, becomes more and more of a problem. So health and nutrition, definitely an issue that could be addressed. And let's not forget, of course, animal welfare. And the thing though to realize is that depending where you are in the world, what country you're in, even within a region, the priorities will be different. There is no one size fits all from a hybrid product or any of the other meat products that we're talking about. Localization really is the key. And there's actually quite a wide range of hybrid products on the market at the moment. And those products have come and some of them have gone. So let's just have a little look around the world at some examples. Danish Crown here with their 50-50 meat and vegetable product. They've got carrots and bell pepper and plant proteins in there. US, Applegate Well Carved. Interesting again here, they have, if you look at the top left, the grass-fed burgers, cauliflower. Then we have carrot and parsley. We have spinach. Lots of vegetables in there. So vegetables front and center of the products. Then we have Burke Made Simple, some toppings. And if you look on the screen, then you'll see an interesting thing underneath those two plates. Minimally processed, no artificial ingredients. So hitting that concern that's out there that are plant-based products too ultra processed now. I'm not so sure that's true, but obviously hitting that mark here with that. And a very simple message: beef and mushroom sausage, pork and cauliflower sausage. That's it. So very, very simple. And of course, let's not forget Purdue Chicken Plus, chicken breast and vegetable tenders. So again, pushing the vegetable side of things. And then we have Tyson Raised and Rooted. Now, for anyone from Australia who's listening to this and is having a chuckle to themselves at Raised and Rooted, For those of you who don't understand why your Australian friends are chuckling over this, Google rooted Urban Dictionary, and you'll see why this brand always gets a laugh in Australia, and it would either be a cult following or nobody would buy any of it. Have a look and see. I'll leave it at that. Problem is, this product is now gone. And if we go back, we might just get a little idea why. Doesn't this sound appetizing? A blend of Angus beef and isolated pea protein. Yum, isolated pea protein. So maybe gives us a clue as to why this wasn't particularly successful and had to be withdrawn. And Tyson have now gone their raisin rooted to 100% plant-based. If we go to food service, back in 2019, Brewdog in the UK brought out the hybrid burger. Unfortunately, that one's gone as well. And that was a mixture of conventional meat, 50%, and 50% Beyond Meat. And that didn't sell either. So WTF, why is that failed? What went wrong? Well, let's just have a look at what survived. The products that survived, the products that are still going and being released, are conventional meat with vegetables. The ones that failed, conventional meat and plant proteins. And so is it all in the marketing? I think that's a really important thing to realize and to stress, is that the way these products are presented, the hybrids are presented to the public, to the consumer, is extremely important in what we do there. And now to go on to the side of things where we're spending a lot of time at the conference today, which is our hybrid plant and cell-based products. So there's quite a few uses for these hybrids. They can occur at least in a couple of ways. A couple of examples: plant-based scaffoldings for cell-based products to give the product structure. And then, of course, cell-based meat and alt proteins, meat being muscle and fat, and then, of course, cell-based fats and alt proteins. And there's a lot of talk around about cell-based fat and alt protein products. Primarily, the reason for that really, to me, revolves around taste. I was talking to one of the largest ingredient suppliers in the world a few weeks ago. They have their own formulation of product. And I asked their R&D head, what do you think is the score of the best of the current plant-based products? His answer was 6 out of 10. Now, I would have said 7. And I wasn't worried about the fact that it wasn't 10 out of 10. Certainly the products that I taste are not perfect, but they are still selling. I think it's good. With the amount of headspace that's still available to improve plant-based products, they've certainly then got a bright future when they get even better and better, when they become a 10 out of 10, or why set for 10 out of 10? Why not 11 out of 10? But it's seen that fats, they always say fats where the flavor is. So blending cell-based fats and alt proteins is going to have a major impact on the taste. Also, we could look at maybe some nutritional improvements, low saturated fat, even things like omega-3s in the product. So again, we can get a nutritional profile that's not simply equivalent to conventional animal meat, but is actually superior. But obviously, it doesn't matter how good the technology is, will consumers buy hybrids? Well, there's some research around that says consumers like the concept of hybrids. They like the concept of conventional animal meat with plant-based products. And for conventional meat hybrids, meat and vegetables, as we've seen, are the preferred option, and not meat and isolated plant protein. So if we look at it in terms of when people look at their diets, they look at the food plate that they're told to eat. They're not told to eat X amount of plant protein. It's so many cups or servings of vegetables and fruit. So looking at it in terms of vegetables is obviously much more appealing to the consumer than, hey, you know, here's a bunch of protein. And I think the key question for us to consider, and hopefully there'll be some talk about this in the conference today, is will then consumers differentiate between conventional and cell-based meat? So will they go, yes, look, I won't buy conventional meat with isolated plant protein, but I'll buy cell-based meat or fat with isolated plant proteins because the overall package of more sustainability and animal welfare and everything else will trump the other issues they have with buying conventional meat and isolated plant protein products. So will hybrids reign victorious? Are they the future? Do they have enough firepower to take on the existing animal agriculture empire? Well, there's many potential types of hybrids. So there's lots of weapons in the arsenal to put on the market to compete with conventional animal agriculture and to actually enable us to have the best chance of addressing the increasing protein demands of the world, other than trying to ramp up conventional animal agriculture with the issues that we know are involved. And of all the hybrids, are plant and cell-based hybrids a match made in heaven? Are they the best of the best? Or are they just a bridge to the future? Is there a continuum of progress from conventional animal products through to hybrid products, through to non-animal products? And I include cell-based meats not made by an animal in that definition there. So what will happen? Will it just be short-term and then everything will go to 100% non-animal with no conventional meat in there at all, or even completely plant-based? Or in the medium to long term, how will things change? And as we mentioned before, no one can tell you the future. Anyone who says they can tell you the future, exactly what it will look like, is either a fool or a liar, because nobody actually knows. Because there's all sorts of plausible futures and even possible out there futures that could happen. We just don't know. So will the future look like this? Will it be beautiful? Will there be wonderful cities, cell-based meat, plant-based, no pollution? This is some people's idea of utopia. Or will it be a little more dystopian, like this, with people just surviving in the dim and the dark? Or will there be another future, and some will consider this next one to be dystopian, some possibly utopian? Who knows? Have a listen and see what you think.
Taco Bell was the only restaurant to survive the franchise wars. So now all restaurants are Taco Bell.
No way.
I'm afraid, yes, way. That is a possible out there future. Who knows? Or maybe the most dystopian future, maybe alternative proteins will not triumph. Who knows? So are plant and cell hybrids the future of meat? Well, I'd like to leave you with 3 thoughts on that. From a food technology point of view, I think that cell-based fat plus alternative proteins are going to give a great taste. I think from a technological point of view, they are a wonderful invention and a great advancement technologically in taste. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that that's going to happen. But what we have to be careful of is this a technical solution looking for a customer? In other words, does it address consumers' needs? And I've looked around, I can't find any even studies which test the concept of cell-based fat and alternative proteins on consumers in large scale. Maybe one of the speakers, maybe their company does have some of this background information. I'd be very interested to see it if they do. But we certainly need large-scale consumer research before we commit huge amounts of time, effort, and funds into this particular part of the industry. And we certainly shouldn't get caught up as food technologists in the wonder of the product without making sure that our consumers will actually buy it. Thanks very much.